had already many discussions and organized a lot of events about this very specific topic of cultural diversity policies, and you've tried different type of formats about how to speak about it, different type of group configurations, and have you felt that this time it was different or not? And if you think it was a bit different, in which way? I know it's very soon, we just had the workshop and didn't have time to digest it, but was just wondering.
No, I wouldn't say it was different, and I wouldn't say it was better what has been done before. We always pretend that we need to have a better way of conversing with each other, a better way of connecting people, a better way of making policies democratically by bringing in the expertise of people. But nevertheless, we create events which are not actually conducive to that. We ignore that people can't just create great ideas collaboratively by virtue of being intelligent. When they come together, there are certain group dynamics which have to unfold first before something new, something important can be produced. In a group of an hour, you can brainstorm, you can't problem solve, and so there is something in the conference culture itself that still needs to be addressed, that we have to learn about. It's in our working group, we hit on the topic of connectivity again, of connecting efforts, of making sure information and expertise flows better. Everybody agrees on that, but in the way we hold conferences, we actually do not build on this knowledge.
I also think that this conference was different in the way it framed the questions, maybe a bit. Even as at Cultural Action Europe, we also try to put ourselves in long-term perspectives and not to be too close to the issues and the problems, and to connect to other sectors and other types of thinking. But here, like, this was really like completely addressed, this policy of change, so it implies that something big has to change already, so it did imply something special. And then by the keynote speeches that we had, that were very, very controversial and very opening up new perspectives, I think the framing was very different. But then, of course, when you get to working groups, which formats are quite usual actually from other conferences, that's where you face the same issues as in any other conferences. Is that how can you be constructive and, as you said, put in place some problem-solving dynamics, in such diverse groups of people who don't know each other and that comes from different grassroots. And I think that's something you always get stuck to, and what's important is the follow-up. And will we be all capable of, identifying this need of change, if there is one, this urgent need of change, if there is one, and then changing the way we work?
Well, that's the first question. Do we agree with the premise of the urgency? I personally do not agree. I don't see a different urgency today than I saw 5 years ago. I think the urgency is only to continue the work. It's the sustainability of the work. Do you see it any differently? What
I think
is the greater urgency?
I think the urgency is not new. Like, I think 5 years ago it was as urgent, but I think the awareness of the urgency in the culture sector is maybe new. I think now we are ready, we culture sector in very broad term, to accept our role in addressing this global urgency.
To me, the urgency remains for the arts and culture to speak to other sectors and to deepen this conversation with other sectors, and for the arts. I mean, I don't want to go into the debate over instrumentalization, but to demonstrate that the arts have both something to say and something to offer to the broader problems that we are facing, to do with the change of the world of work, with the fact that full-time employment is never going to happen again, how we handle a society where a significant proportion of the population can no longer rely on having a sense of value through their work. But I fear that we haven't advanced enough yet on demonstrating to people who are not familiar with the arguments about the arts, about about the role of the arts. I feel there is still a great potential for ridicule of what the arts claim to be doing. I mentioned it in one of the workshops, all the rhetoric you can get about the emancipatory qualities of the arts, about the liberating qualities of the arts, about empowering people, giving people dignity, and how that is all enmeshed with, you know, people improving themselves in socio-economic terms. Either it's not well enough understood, all the projects in which these claims can be realized are so punctual, they're just not they're not understood.
Yeah, what I feel is that if we claim that we have a role to play, even if it's not the central role, and then you've got, you know, what is the art for, but if there is any kind of role in tackling cultural diversity issues, migrant issues, social inclusion issues, we have to be ready to really take part in social inclusion conversations. I really think, and so go one step further than just asking social policy makers to take us into account. We have to be ready to sit, you know, in policy making groups and go through all discussions and get stuck with the others in the part that are politically sensitive. And we have to go one step further than just say, those are our arguments and you have to recognize it and that's it. And I think that's the main challenge. And maybe this is not the right solution, but I'd like to explore that within the cultural sector. Are we ready to go there? And if we don't want to go there, so we have to find another direction and other arguments. But I'd like to push that a bit further.
Okay. Do you really think now is the right time? The one thing that people in the conference could agree on was that the financial crisis presents the urgency. The fact that there are public funding cutbacks presents the urgency. Do you get the sense that people think of it more of a chance, that they are so positive that they think of this financial crisis as a chance to rethink how we have discussion between sectors, for example?
I think so, because when I look at the upcoming EU budget negotiations, so the budget 2014-2020 is going to be discussed. They're going to start the discussions now, and both really know, some people told us, high-level people in the parliament, that it will be the toughest budget negotiations ever, even more than the last time, which was already hugely difficult. Will be the toughest, and on the other hand, there are all those global emergencies appearing everywhere, and financial crisis one of them, and it's linked to many other, you know, crises. And so I still hope that there will be some space in the very tough negotiations for innovative thinking, for opening new doors, because there is a sense of failure at some level of, you know, public policies, priorities, of like public choices, and I really think that tough negotiations, and so a need to think, to propose different things. Maybe we lose that battle, but I think there is, you know, I think there are opportunities there for culture operators to think differently, to develop new arguments, to ask, to speak to other people, to ask for a new legitimacy, and there is a risk it's not going to work.
Speak to the non-initiated is I think one of the key points.